Hey, it's Jodie, and this is Coffee Conversations, a show where I speak to a series of inspirational women who are challenging the status quo. On today's episode, I speak to Tsitsi Mutiti, who is an investment manager. We speak about the barriers into a woman's financial freedom and her journey into finance. Let's get started. Hi Tsitsi, how are you?
I'm okay, Jodie. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So I'll do a little introduction, that's how I usually start, and then we'll get into it.
Okay, fab.
So you're an award-winning investment manager, founder of The Wealth Conversation, and an ambassador for ensuring women's futures. Your personal mission is to help busy, ambitious women to improve their relationship with money and confidently redesign their financial future. First things first, are you a coffee drinker?
No, I'm not actually.
You're not. Are you a tea
I'm
drinker?
a tea drinker.
Okay.
Yes.
What kind of tea?
Peppermint tea is my go-to.
A herbal tea.
If I'm out and about, yeah, I love it. Yeah.
I love that too. All right, so I guess we start at the beginning. I've obviously had the pleasure of hearing your story before, and I think a lot of people will gain inspiration from it. So talk us a little bit through your journey into finance. And yeah, I know it was a bit of a different one. So
sure.
I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, it's a long story, so I'll try and make it as short as possible.
Not at all.
Well, I grew up in Zimbabwe and moved to the UK in 2006. And when I came to the UK, I came as a secretary. That was the career I had back home. And I joined financial services in 2007 as a secretary. And very quickly, I decided that I was not going to stay for long. Maximum 3 years, I'd be out of there. For several reasons, including the fact that I didn't see anyone who looked like me managing large sums of money. There were very few people who looked like me anyway, doing anything in the firm at the time. And I just didn't believe that the financial services sector or anything to do with money and numbers would be anything that I'd be successful in or even understand, because people I knew didn't talk about the things that these people were talking about. It's that classic story of I kind of stumbled into it, didn't want to be there, but then slowly realized that everything that was going on around me and the discussions that people were having were really things that I wished I'd known about a long time ago. And I wish that people who are older than me had talked to me about these sort of things. So I got a bit curious and interested in what was going on, because I'm naturally like that anyway. I always want to know how things work. And it took me down the road of getting the qualification. Fortunately, the company that I worked for at the time, and I'm still there, have got a graduate scheme, and I was allowed to kind of participate in there even though I wasn't a graduate. So they funded the whole
amazing
course or qualification, which was, in total 3 years of my life that I lost. And, whilst I was studying, I just thought, wow, will this ever end? And, I got qualified in 2011. And since then, I've been managing money for individuals and families and, helping them grow their money, maintain it, and also pass it down to the next generation.
Amazing. I love that. Actually, just quickly touching on not seeing people that look like you in an industry. This is a big point of discussion for me, because I feel like it's so important for people to have... especially as women, I feel like women are just underrepresented in so many different fields. Black women on top of that are just like, there's just barely any representation at all. And I love that you kind of stepped up and decided to be what you needed to see, how important do you think it is to be able to have role models and people to look up to that look like you, talk like you, come from the same background as you? Like, I feel like that's such an important thing, and people don't realize how much of an impact that actually has on you when you're trying to succeed or try and fit into a place.
Yeah, it's so true. I think that was part of the reason why right at the beginning I was sort of like, I'm not going to stay here for long. It's my people aren't here. And I think also one of the barriers that I came across, which I'm sure a lot of people do, when you're in a space that's foreign in a way, and for me it was foreign in a lot of ways because I came from a different country, etc. When you go back home and you're talking to your family and friends about what you're doing on a daily basis, they don't even understand it. So, that was a really big hurdle that I had to overcome personally, so that I could just continue moving forward, because I could have just decided to stop and go into something different, because at the beginning I didn't really have to stay there. I never dreamed that I would be an investment manager, let alone have won some awards, let alone start a business. No, not at all. None of that was in my sights. All I wanted at the time was to just get a job, make some money, and kind of, get a house and all those things that we think about when we're starting work.
Amazing. So speaking on you owning a company, you set up the Wealth Conversation. What was number one, tell us a bit about what the Wealth Conversation is and what you do, and what was your inspiration for building even further on your career and setting up your own company within finance?
Yeah, well, it's still taking shape, the Wealth Conversation, but initially when I thought about it, the initial seeds were just about talking, people like me having conversations about money, and I was finding it really difficult to talk to even my sisters about, their financial well-being and everything that encompasses financial well-being. I had also, whilst, building my career, I had also gone through my own issues with money. I got into debt. I didn't understand the financial system here, so I was making decisions that weren't kind of in alignment with the way my career was going. So my career was going like this, and my finances were going like that. And it was really because there was no conversation between where I was and, what I was studying. I somehow couldn't get myself to what I was learning in a way. And it was all about my mindset, really. There were a lot of things that were stopping me from just thinking about how can I use what I'm learning to, in my situation. And really it all boiled down to having conversations with people and making the discussion about money and money itself more like, a conversation you have when you're having coffee with a friend, and I wasn't even having those discussions with my friends. So they were also in their own financial situations, and they weren't talking to me about it, even though I kind of had the knowledge. So that's kind of where the name came from, and where I felt there was a need to do something. And it was really initially about being able to reach the people who feel like the financial services sector is not talking to them or doesn't want to talk to them. And then it's kind of grown into a coaching business where I am supporting mainly women, high achieving women who are busy, very ambitious, and supporting them to just, become more confident about managing their money and also building generational wealth. I think for me, that's the biggest piece, that we work so hard now, but a lot of us aren't thinking about the future when we stop working. And we've seen that cycle in, especially in the Black community, where people work very hard, they end up retiring, and they've got really nothing to show for it except maybe a house or something like that. But when it comes to cash flow, there's really not much, so they're relying on other members of the family, which can actually be a burden. And what happens, in my opinion, is we see generations starting from zero all the time. And I felt that, I am in a position and I've got the knowledge to kind of stop that cycle. So yeah, in a way, the wealth conversation is growing because now I'm actually working on a group coaching program so I can work with more people.
I love that.
And, kind of have, and support more people maybe at the lower end. Watch this space.
I love that. That's so great. I think it is so important, especially like you said, especially within women. I feel like women are so afraid to speak about money. I feel like it's very taboo for women. I feel like men speak about money a lot more freely, whether that's because of cultural barriers that we put on ourselves or stereotypes. In your opinion, what are the biggest barriers into finance for women, both the financial sector and just finance in general? What is your opinion of the biggest barriers that women face in that sector?
I think the biggest one is the stereotype of,
for sure.
Women, the woman's place is in the kitchen and the man is the breadwinner. It's amazing how even today, even in the younger generation, I'm 42 now. I'll be 43 in a couple of days, actually. But even people who are younger than me still have that mentality of, waiting for the knight in shining armor who's going to come and sweep them off their feet and kind of help them elevate their life and their lifestyle. And that for me is really one of the biggest issues. On the male side, I think, just touching on it quickly, I think there is also that pressure to be that
absolutely
person, the one who is the breadwinner. And so I find there's a lot of tension there. Women want to be independent, but we tend to default to, wanting someone to come and rescue us in a way or be there for us to support. And the men also want a bit of a break, but it's difficult for them to kind of embrace that because society expects them to know everything, especially when it comes to money. I think there is this belief that men know everything when it comes to money, and actually they don't. And I think once everyone realizes that we all don't, we're all learning, because we've never been taught this. We don't learn this at school, in most schools anyway. So how can you expect someone else to know more than you? So that stereotype really affects people when they're dealing with their own personal finances, but also when they think about joining the financial services sector.
Yeah.
Because like me, I thought it was all about numbers. So I'd carried this limiting belief with me that I'm not good at numbers because I was terrible at maths anyway at school. So I equated financial services with numbers and then also with money. And I don't come from a wealthy background. So I really believed that you had to be from a wealthy background to even be in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's actually a really big one. I feel like a lot of people that are trying to get into that finance world assume that it is just that stereotype of a wealthy white man coming from, private schools and a really good background that have kind of fast-tracked themselves into that. Actually, I guess, in your opinion, how do we even start to overturn that? My friend, one of my best friends actually works in financial services as well. And she's one of the very few women that works within her sector. And I know she's found very similar obstacles in that it is just a very wealthy male-dominated space, and it's so hard to break through. Do you think it's something that we need to start way back at school, or just open up that conversation to more people later on in life?
Yeah, definitely. I think the school piece is key. one of the things that I've done is, when I've been offered the opportunity, I do go into schools and talk to the children about what I'm doing. I think it's important for young people to know that there are other alternative career routes out there. But also sometimes it's not even about going into financial services to manage money or do the really complicated stuff. There are other roles like, IT, marketing. There's so many other roles that actually help me do what I do. Like without the IT guys, I wouldn't be able to do my work. So I think there also needs to be that shift from realizing that financial services isn't just about the money stuff and the numbers. There is a lot more to it. But to your point about what needs to be done to get more diverse people into the industry, I think celebrating the people who are there already.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, when I joined in 2007, I really felt like I was the only one. And when I was doing my exams, I felt like, I did actually in my cohort when I was studying, and I did go and do like live classes with people from other companies. I think I was the only person of color in that class.
Wow.
But not knowing that there were actually other people doing the exact same thing. But sometimes, we're working so hard because we've been told, throughout our lives to just work hard and work hard and work harder, that we never have time to kind of put our head up and look around and see our people. I'm so proud and happy to say that there are a lot of, Black women in financial services, in, senior roles who are really opening the doors and making it easier for the next generation to come through. And we are going to the schools and talking to young people. We are, getting involved in discussions about how we can bring more people from, diverse backgrounds into the industry. I think there is a lot happening. There still needs to be more done because, the key holders or the gatekeepers are still, from a particular background.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's so great. I love that idea of, people holding open the door for others from more diverse backgrounds. And I think it kind of plays on that idea of, I think, mentorship, kind of similar to how you're going into schools. I think mentorship is such an important role, both for women and just diversifying the industry as a whole, all industries as a whole. I think it's so important for people to keep the door open for other people and make sure that, they then step up and become mentors for that younger generation coming through. On that point, do you have any advice for young women who are trying to get into the finance industry? What kind of routes they would take? I know you touched on the fact that it's not just money and numbers, like there are a bunch of other options. What advice would you give to young women that kind of think they might want to get into financial services but just don't really know what route to take?
I guess the first thing is, reach out to someone who is in the industry, and have conversations with them about what they think might suit you best. Now on LinkedIn, you can basically find just about anybody. I get contacted a lot by people, young people who found my profile on LinkedIn. And we're always happy to have a chat, and support the next generation because, we've been there and things were even much worse.
Yeah,
they are actually better now. So for any young person who's even thinking about financial services, it's actually much easier now to get in if you're from a diverse background than it was when I joined in 2007. So definitely give it a try. As I said before, it's not just about the numbers.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go in and become an investment manager straight away or a banker or, or an analyst. You can start in other roles. And, the firm I work for, in fact, my story is testament to that. I came in as a secretary, had no plans of being anything other than a secretary. And here I am today. So it's really about just, giving it a try.
Yeah.
And taking advantage of opportunities that come your way.
Yeah, I think you're a big testament to the fact that there is not one linear path into that industry or any industry as a whole. And yeah, you can definitely take different paths. It's not always just school, university, and then get a job and work your way up. There are definitely different ways to get into things, and I think that is really important. I'd actually love to ask you about success and what your idea of success is, because I think that kind of touches on I think, like I was saying, people think that it's school, university, job, and anything else is a failure, and they kind of come across that and they hit a roadblock. What is your idea of success, and has that changed over time and as you've grown as a woman?
Yeah, wow, that's a big question.
It is, sorry.
No, it's fine. I like it. It got me thinking. I'll start with the has it changed over time? It definitely has. I think for me, growing up, success was really about school.
Absolutely.
Getting, passing, getting the grades, going to university, which I actually didn't end up doing. And, getting the big house, getting married, having kids, and now that I think about it and I've kind of gone through it, I'm like, what was I thinking? I didn't even know all the stuff that goes with all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
With all of that. So that was it. It was just, But what is success for me now? I think for me, success is really about giving back to people and making sure and actually being confident that whatever I'm giving back is creating change and positive change. So, and that's really the foundation of, the wealth conversation. It is about giving back to my community, to women, passing on the knowledge that I have and that I'm still gathering, and helping everyone become, more financially resilient.
Yeah, I love that answer. I completely agree on that idea of success. I think giving back is so underrated in our society. I think, like you said, like the typical view of success right now is having a house, having a big house even, having, being able to provide your family is obviously a huge thing. But I just feel like it's always a very material idea of success. And I think, the true meaning of success is definitely, definitely all about giving back and giving back to your community. And I love that that's what you're doing with the wealth conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd also love to talk to you a little bit about, I know you're an ambassador for Ensuring Women's Futures. How did you get into that, and what do they do?
Yeah, so Ensuring Women's Futures is a campaign that's been set up by the Institute of Insurers. I might have to check that name actually. And it's the Insurance Institute, and they are basically lobbying the financial services sector and government to try and improve the financial resilience of women. And it's really all about, it started off focusing on pension poverty, that women face when they retire.
Yeah.
And there was some research that was done by PwC, which came up with a stat that says the average woman's pension pot at the age of 65 when she retires is £38,500. And when I read that research and saw that figure, my mind just was blown away, because I was like, I think I spend more than that in a year.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what you've got to live on now.
in retirement, and that's for the whole of your retirement. So it really got me thinking and really got me to focus really on women and their financial resilience. So what they do is basically supporting people who are in financial services, so financial planners, investment managers, and also people in the insurance sector. They support us with tools and things that we can use to basically educate people on everything financial resilience, especially women. And the idea of focusing on women is that it's really based around this thought that if a woman can be financially resilient, it trickles down to the whole family and into society. And for me, that's everything I've known growing up. I am the eldest of 4 girls. The family that I come from has more women than men in it. So it's always about the women piece. So I naturally gravitated to them when they were looking for ambassadors. And I support the campaign whenever I can. When I do presentations on talking to groups of women, I always feed that information in, because I think it's really important that we know, what we are heading to as women as we get to retirement.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is so important, and it's something that is so often overlooked, as you said. I think people don't plan ahead for their future, especially women, as people who are, always, I feel like women are always caring for others, and they're slow to look after themselves, and I think that is sounds like such an amazing initiative, and something that is really important, because like you said, I think if you support a woman, it trickles down throughout the whole family and throughout generations. So I think that is incredible. Thank you so much for this. So I usually wrap up with 5 quick-fire questions before I end everything. So I've got them here. Okay, I think we'll go with, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Barbados.
Barbados.
I've never been there.
That's a good one. Yes. I think we could all do with a trip to Barbados right now, for sure. Have you picked up any new hobbies or habits in the last year?
Good question. Any new habits or hobbies? Actually, I think I'm becoming a bit of an interior designer.
Oh, okay.
Because I've moved into a new house a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm the type of person who'd rather bring somebody in to do stuff. But that's a bit of interior design. Oh, and actually cooking a bit more, yes.
Okay, I like that. What are you currently reading or watching, if anything?
I'm not a big reader, but I've just recently started watching Lupin, which
I've heard really good things about.
It's fantastic.
Is it really good?
I'm coming to the end. I'm coming to the end, and that's so sad.
Yeah, I definitely heard good things, so I'm going to have to add that to my... It's French, right?
Yes, yes, with subtitles, but it's great.
I need to jump onto that. What is your go-to meal?
My go-to meal? That's actually a very hard one, because I don't really have any kind of favorite food. I like to try...
You like to try a bunch of different things?
Yeah, I like to try different things. I'm not stuck in my ways.
I like that. And finally, I feel like we actually kind of answered this at the beginning, but it's the question I always wrap up with. Tea or coffee?
Yeah. Definitely tea. I love the smell of coffee, but I'll never drink it. I don't even, I can't drink it.
Oh, I'm going to have
I don't know why.
Have to send you some coffee to try out.
I'll give it to my daughter. She's the coffee junkie.
Oh, amazing. There you go. Tsitsi, thank you so much for this. That was really insightful. very
Thanks,
much
Jodie.
appreciate your time, and yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'd be happy to come back whenever
I
and have
appreciate it.
another chat.
And we'll for sure keep in touch, because this is something that's very very important to me, as you know. So we'll keep in touch for sure. That was such an insightful conversation, and it's been great to learn a little bit more about women in finance.
Great.
Very much appreciate your time, and yeah, like I said, thank you so much.